Donni Ray, and this is the PRIV Talks podcast. Join me and my team as we pull back the curtain on work, life, family, friendship, leadership, entrepreneurship, and everything in between. We hope these conversations will inspire you, make you feel connected, and bring you a laugh. Welcome back.
Hi.
Episode 1.
With my two favorite people. I mean, 3.
I was like,
Which two?
you had some explaining to do.
Okay,
Two
you need to...
new favorite people.
Zydeco's not one of them, obviously, right? Oh my God.
Well,
You can replace.
That was a yes face.
All right, we've.
I mean, yes, he is
one of
my favorites.
So I'm. Okay.
I made a mistake.
it's okay.
It's okay.
Katie's not good with numbers. We know
We
that.
can't fight while we're podcasting. Physically.
Uh,
Physically.
The threats happened before, right,
Exactly.
Katie?
It's gotten a little spicy on the podcast for sure before.
More in passive aggressive ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
The
silence after. For
I'm
the
not
time.
passive aggressive at all.
No,
I don't contain that bone in my body.
Oh, I'd rather have a fist fight.
Yeah, me too.
Katie said one time she goes, "I'm more aggressive."
Yes.
Yeah.
I like run from conflict. So whatever that is, the anti all those things, that's what I am. Like, you want to fight? Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Oh, so you don't you don't have the aggressive part at all.
No, I would rather like chew off my own arm than be involved in conflict.
Oh, if there's like a conflict, I'm not passive aggressive at all, but I cannot let it not be addressed. Like, we have to talk about it.
Well, I do because I'm an adult, but I don't want to. Like, the pain that it causes me is a lot.
It's not natural. Okay, so let's introduce ourselves to our new guest, but new but old. Karen's been on the podcast before. Go.
Oh, hi, I'm Karen. Hopefully we can edit this. If not, you're welcome. I own a social media company called Muse and Moxie, and I do the social media here at PRIV. And my daughter and Katie's daughter are best friends, which in turn makes Katie and me best friends.
And people think we're sisters all the time.
All the time. People are like, we could be hanging out with Katie, Donni, and me, and everyone would be like, oh, you guys are sisters, right?
Yeah, we kind of are.
So I went to the liquor store one time, shocker, and the lady at the till's like, oh, your sister was just in here. And I was like, I just talked to her. She wasn't in here. Yeah. And then I called Karen. I'm like, were you just at the liquor store? She's like, mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh, I think, and then I would go to the nail place sometimes, and they'll be like, "Oh, your sister was just in here," and I'm like,
I can see that.
"Oh, Katie, were you just in here?" In Mexico, it happened a lot. A lot. People wanted me to hook them up with my sister.
I'm giving Karen the death eyes right now because I'm actually the sister. So.
I know. Yeah.
It's like,
you
don't
need
step.
to dye your hair actually, your hair is so beautiful this color. But
Thank you.
if you dyed it like black, maybe.
It was. Have you seen pictures of my hair?
I'm gonna post a picture in the Facebook group of Donni with dark hair.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Wow.
Oh. And I'm a mom
You're all
to
welcome.
2 kids, and my oldest son has autism.
And you're really funny.
I think I'm really funny.
I
The
think
more I
you're funny.
drink, the more funny I get. But yes, I think I'm quite witty.
Should we
Humble
break
brag.
our intermittent fasting and open up a bottle of wine?
Yeah.
I think so.
Isn't it? It just means you have to stop eating earlier today.
I'm also going out for dinner tonight.
How long are you eating for when you do the fast?
You eat for 8 and you fast for 16.
That's like not hard. I feel like
No, it's just not night snacking.
I would just like to eat between the hours of 5 p.m. and midnight.
It just
That's
means
not 8 hours, is it?
Are you
That's
allowed
7.
to eat for all 8 hours?
Yeah, and there's no way you can like eat whatever you want. But my problem would be like having a glass of wine at like 10:30, and now I just have a glass of wine at
AM?
6
PM?
p.m. I mean,
I live I guess a different lifestyle. My diet's different.
I feel like I could probably not eat until 3 p.m. and be quite happy. But it's just like after the kids go to bed, I just want some charcuterie and and wine.
I've been trying to do only fruit before noon. So waking up, and it's like the whole idea is kind of a liver cleanse. I'm not drinking coffee, and I'm trying to you just go really gentle on your body, things that are like hydrating for your organs.
That's why your skin looks good.
Well, it's improved dramatically. Since I quit drinking coffee, I basically stopped breaking out. It's wild. I've had 3 cups of decaf since I quit over a month ago, and I've had breakouts every time I've had a cup of
That's
decaf.
interesting.
Or is it something else?
Or it could be something else. I'm harboring a secret that I have to announce on this podcast because we've already recorded the next one and it comes out in the podcast. But I am going to be the proud owner of 4 children.
Proud owner. Have you taken this one for a test drive?
Like, do I need psychiatric help? Like 4 kids is a lot of kids.
I'll take I call Elliot, her youngest right now, baby, which is really unfortunate that I'm not going to be able to call her that when there's actually a baby in the room, but
She's going to let
I'll
your house
take
on
her.
fire.
She's going to look so big when there's an actual baby. But I feel like I should give the story. It was not a planned pregnancy. It was a little bit of an oops or surprise.
You mean happy surprise?
Yeah.
A total happy surprise. I feel like I'm too old and like I've also had 3 kids. I know how it works. So you can't say it was a mistake. Like it was a risk that we took that turned out. I'm very good at that, and I make babies very, very easily. So yeah, I'm going to have a baby in July.
Yay.
Amazing.
Woo!
Which means we can't do Katie's Stegat until August.
Exactly.
September,
Yeah, because we need to give Donni 2 minutes to get her baby body back.
right?
I mean, her pre-baby body.
Yeah.
About 2 weeks, she'll bounce right back.
Stop it.
24s.
Okay, let's let Zydeco take the floor for a minute here.
Well, I'm Zydeco. I'm new-ish to Privilege. I came from a long history of retail, and the last company I worked pretty extensively with sorting out their retail division and their staffing needs, and I'm trying to bring some of that experience here, but it's a totally different environment, a totally different company. It's a lot more fun, so if you work for my previous employer, please give me a break on this and still a reference in the future if I ever need it. My fiance coaches Karen and Katie's kids, so I'm kind of in their universe that way. That's how I met them. And now I'm just part of the
You're a Priv babe.
cultural
You're a Priv babe.
cooking pot of privilege.
The
and
cultural
Can you please
cooking
say
pot.
what you said to me? Okay, we're going to start a new series here at Privilege that Zydeco is going to do. And what's it called again?
I don't know.
Quasi queer eye. What did you say?
Oh, like
Vaguely.
sort of queer eye for the straight guy.
Yeah, he said like vaguely queer eye for the straight guy because he's kind of straight.
Kinda-
even, you know what I
kinda.
mean? So we should start that on Priv stories.
Okay.
Yeah, just like a 5-minute
segment.
segment. Exactly.
Where he can help guys get dressed.
Yeah,
I feel like everybody loves you here.
I hope so.
I do. I know I do. But I'm getting like really insanely okay. I also have lost my words because I do this in every pregnancy. I've had like a crazy amount of customer feedback.
Yeah, but your customers think I'm a girl.
That's one.
Online.
That's one problem.
Which I guess that could be like a...
It was a really nice review, and I was waiting for anyone to read it in depth enough to notice that.
I noticed. Right
Were
away.
you upset?
She said it 5 times. I mean, I guess she didn't hear my dulcet tones. She will once she hears the podcast. She'll
Was
be
it
like,
a
"Oh,
was it a
this is
phone
me."
call or an email?
No,
It
it
was
was
an email.
It'd be worse if it was a phone
should
call.
So this lovely customer was like raving about her experience with Zydeco and going on, but kept saying how great she was and she helped me so well and went on and on and on. And I feel like you've got quite a low voice. I'm a little surprised.
It was an email.
No, it was an email.
Yeah.
Oh, it was through email, but
was.
Zydeco.
I know,
I mean,
but-
it's a name you haven't heard before, regardless of male or
Exactly.
female.
You should
I
just start
could be
signing it
anything.
Carl.
No, you should be
100%.
Sir Zydeco.
Frank.
Just change it every time.
change your name to Carl. Do it for everybody.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've lived in the same world, like Donni Ray. When have you ever met a Donni Ray?
Never.
Oh, that's the best when people will call here and they'll be like, "Is Mr. Donnie and Mrs. Ev there?"
Yeah.
Or Mrs. Eve. I'm like, "No, they're not here."
Oh, that's
My whole family is like genderless names. I really love names that go back and forth. And my son is Emerson. My daughter's Elliot. I'm Donni. Ev. People are like,
Or
what is that name?
Eve.
Unless it's
People
Ev's
think it's short
full
for
name.
Evelyn or something like that. But he's like actually this like super masculine bro. Like, it's so funny.
Somebody
Anyways.
put his full name on a piece of mail that was delivered here, and it was amazing. I had
yeah,
no idea.
Evieno.
That's right.
Oh.
Isn't
Right?
it?
Yes.
Or Eugenios?
Well, it's super weird because he's Greek, and so his name is Evieno. But then when they I have no idea why they did this, because I think you would just put the spelling properly on the Canadian immigration form. But when they came back to Canada, his Canadian immigration form has Eugenios, because I guess Eugenio translates to Eugene.
Sure.
Anyways, that's not my issue. I had to live with Donni Ray, so that's neither here nor there. I'm just going to work on giving my kids some solid names that will take them through life seamlessly.
Well, Mom almost named me Mabel.
That's crazy.
That would
Mabel Edmondson. Oh my.
You would not be a good Mabel.
No.
You'd be like a kindergarten teacher living
It's
in
not
like Prince George if your name was Mabel.
Anyways, Zydeco, we're so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be.
And it's such a new mishmash of faces since the last podcast that I feel like we have to. Let's work through our boss or bust and our weekly obsessions, and then we'll go into like the why.
Okay.
Like, why do we take a hiatus? Where are we at now, and where are we going? Because I get asked that all the time.
Okay.
Katie, what's your boss or bust?
I'm gonna take a bust. I finally this week was like, hey, I'm not gonna drink Monday to Thursday,
That's a good goal.
right?
Yeah.
And then maybe have like a couple on the drink one day on the weekend or something. It's Wednesday morning, and I'm
just gonna
drinking
say.
wine. So that's a bust.
They can't hear that. I wasn't about to throw you under the bus.
You can kind of, when I poured it here, it almost sounds like someone's either peeing in a toilet or pouring wine.
I think our listeners just know that it's wine pouring at this point.
So yeah, I'm going to take a bus. I'm going to try again next week, Monday to Thursday.
We're also leaving this weekend, so Monday
Yep.
seems like a good day.
Yeah.
Don't start at Sunday.
No, we're going to Bellevue for a cheer competition, and there's going to be a lot of wine pouring. Because I don't know if you've ever been to a cheer competition, but they are awful.
It's about equivalent to being at a rave.
Except,
Yeah. Except you have to cheer for your kid. You have to be happy about it because your kids are there.
Just the music is so loud. Apparently, there's this new show called Cheer, though, that
Oh my
everyone's
gosh.
going crazy for.
Okay, I was like, okay, I'll watch it. I don't know, watched it with my kid. She went to bed and I binge watched the whole thing. And at the end, I was like, Cherry, I'll adopt you. It's so good. I was crying.
I've heard it's really good from people who I would never have thought would ever say that about a show like that.
did you cheer at the end when they hit their routine?
I was screaming.
Oh, I was like cheering so hard.
When the guy, I don't want to spoil it, but something happens when they're at Daytona, which is like the big cheer thing, and they have to start their routine again. And I was like freaking out. And Kiana wakes up in the morning. She's like, let's watch Cheer. I was like, I watched the whole thing.
Oh, that is bad mom move.
I know.
Karen.
That's my bust.
Okay.
It is so good, though, that I almost like am contemplating like making a trip down there with the girls to go.
We
to the
are going. We're going to see them.
No, but to go to the competition in Miami.
Oh.
Oh my God, I can't even
also
imagine
go
you guys in
Miami.
Miami.
Okay, so true story. We're going to Dallas for this big mecca of cheer competition, and the people from cheer are going to be competing there with their all-star teams.
Where
Gabby Butler, Jerry, and then I may have organized us to go visit Navarro Gym because
I may have ordered us matching tracksuits.
Katie organized matching tracksuits. We have a dream to have
Cheer
matching
moms.
tracksuits.
You need to keep that show a secret. Because if I have one more cheer thing in my house, my physical
Axel
sanctuary.
knows about it. We've texted about Jerry and how much we love him.
See, now I'm a little mad.
Sorry.
I don't want to be mad during the podcast, but now I'm like,
Sorry for your extra cheer life shows.
Karen, what's your boss or bust?
Oh, that was my best. Where my
Oh,
daughter
right.
was like, Mom, let's bond. And she went to bed and I drank wine when I'm supposed to be having sober January and also watched a cheer show. So
You know what, though? For everyone that's like, New Year, new me, we're following the Chinese calendar, and the new year doesn't start until January 25th. So that is why this podcast is coming out.
So January 25th, 7th sounds like a good day. That's the Monday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, our podcast comes out on Tuesdays, so it's going to come out on January 28th. But I was like, I'm not starting this until the next year.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for bust to keep going with this tradition here, but it's kind of Katie's bust too, and I'll tell you why. So
Tell me why. Tell me why.
couple weeks ago, we had a big, snowfall, and we have a group chat. And the group chat has a lot going on in it. There's a lot of messages that come through. So I woke up at like 7. I looked out the window, and I was super excited there was snow because we never get snow in BC. That sticks if you live in Vancouver or Langley, or wherever we may be. I don't know if I'm allowed to say where we are, but I guess you know our business exists, so maybe you know exactly where I am.
You're in a bunker.
I was like super excited, so I sent this little joke in the group chat. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll take a crazy carpet down the hill to work. This will be fun. And everyone kind of laughed and was like, oh, that's funny. And so
But you just didn't read the messages before
No,
that?
I'm getting there. That's where Katie comes into
Okay.
it. So I put my boots on, and it's super snowy, and I didn't have a hat, and it was pretty cold. And
It was blizzarding.
yeah,
Okay, we got 10 inches. City shuts down.
that's right. The
For
whole
2
thing.
days, yeah.
Let's not talk about our commute as well, because that was something. Anyway, I'm walking down the hill. I get to work, and I walk into the store, and I send a text to the group chat, and I'm like, I don't know how busy it's going to be today. There's a lot of snow in front of the business. And someone says, you're joking. So I go, no, I'm not. And I take a photo at the window of all the snow, just to find out that they had said at 5 a.m. before sending 40 messages to the chat to push that message out of my feed that the business would be closed for the day. So I made a nice cold walk down to a closed business for fun, for sport.
Did you have any fun, though, while doing it?
I did. I also had super cold ears, so I'm happy they're still here with me today.
You were only planning on doing the one-way trip, right? Then you
That's
thought
right.
you'd get to warm up. You were not planning on
That's
doing
right.
it two-way.
Yeah, contemplated staying, and then I decided I would just walk back up. Yep, so that's my bust. I don't pay attention to group chats very well, and now I know better.
My bust is going. I'm going to need some help here because the going around this whole circle and not having a boss or bust.
Oh, we have lots of bosses for sure too. You just gotta pick one.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in the boss mode though. That I truly feel like I've started saying no to so many things to the point of like once you start saying no, you just say no to like virtually everything to the point that it feels like a boss. I have weaned out all of the distractions I feel like in my life. And
Besides your children.
oh my God, I'm adding another one.
If I had 4 kids, I'd need 4 nannies.
Oh, you guys, I'm
Plus
not
one
helping.
for me. Plus a massage therapist and a counselor that lives with me. Just kidding. You'll be fine.
Kate, other people have told me though 3 to 4 is like you won't
Gravy.
even notice the 4th.
It's true.
2 to 3 was a dramatic leap.
The things you didn't let Elias do where you were like, don't touch that, don't eat that. The 4th one is going to have like an electrical cord in its hand and like a crayon up its nose. And you're going to be like, oh,
I want to back that up because I have 4 siblings. My youngest brother is 5, so I'll be 50 when he's my age. Different mom, just so you all know. But yeah, he gets freedoms that I, as the first child, was never afforded. And I'm a little jealous. And yeah, I feel like once you've got 4 kids, not that I have any, despite trying, that you just let them do their thing at that age and trust it'll all just be okay.
You just can only be in so many places at one time. And then as you have more kids, life gets busier because the older kids have things that you need to drive them to. So you're basically a taxi driver. And there's just not enough time to do everything. So I can't imagine this child that I'm having is going to get much attention.
no.
But I will try.
Just save for therapy and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was the 4th of 4 and I turned out all right.
All right.
All right.
I mean,
I feel like mom kept me out of preschool so I got that extra attention that year. I turned out all right.
You like transition. You started sleeping a lot and like you were just a very chill, mellow. Like
Yeah.
you didn't require much because you never got much. I don't think I got much either. Don't worry.
Didn't require much love. Is that why I require so much love now?
that's why you have days where you'll look at
You did require
Katie will
love.
look at her fiance and I feel uncomfortable because I can tell she's just obsessed with him. She's like, you can't go to work. You can't leave me today. I mean, she doesn't do that every day, but there's days.
I feel like our listeners have been following the saga of Katie's relationships too. And I'm like, it is unfair to not share a little bit
Yes.
about Kevin
Yes.
on the podcast.
I take
Where did he come from?
personal responsibility for this.
Yeah.
So Kevin is one of my clients, and he's also like, we have lots of mutual friends. And we met him for the first time years ago at a
3 years.
3 years ago at a cheer competition. Our girls were doing indies at like 10 o'clock, which is where they tumble by themselves. Nobody came to watch except Kevin showed up.
his daughter wasn't even doing indies.
He showed up with a friend with the owner's boyfriend. Anyways, he didn't just show up to watch girls tumble. That sounds creepy.
He was there to pick up moms.
He actually had a girlfriend
Does he like
at the
cheer
time.
moms? Does he not like cheer moms?
So he shows up with his friend whose girlfriend owned the cheer gym. So anyway, he shows up and he brings mini bottles of wine. Well, we'd been at cheer all day and now we're still there at 10 o'clock at night. And someone hands you an airplane bottle of wine or two. So Katie actually says to me, and
I'd marry that person.
She goes, I think I might make out with that guy later. And I was like, yeah, you should go for it. Then anyways, we found out he had a girlfriend and that went away. Then years later, we are at a local pub and he's there. He's my client now. And I start sending him over shots of tequila. He sends us back over shots of tequila. Katie's like, I don't know what it is, but I'm kind of like thinking that I might be into that guy. So then I start messaging him that Katie wants tickets to Gone Country. It's like local fundraiser. And he's not getting it.
No, he gave you and your husband tickets.
Yeah.
And then I messaged him and I was like, oh, I want a ticket to Gone Country. He's like, I don't have any left. And I'm like, you're not understanding what I'm saying right now. I don't really want a ticket to
Ticket to Gone Country is ticket to the Kevin show.
And even when I bring it up today, he's like, I had no clue that you were flirting with me. I'm like, okay.
And then
I feel like you're a pretty aggressive flirt too, though.
I know. He's pretty oblivious to it, though. Like, he'll even be out and I'll be like, that girl was flirting with you. He's like, no, she wasn't. I'm like, she totally
and he was newly out of a relationship too. So one night we go out. I'm texting Kevin like, you have to come. Weren't you there?
No.
No. Why do I remember your mom being there?
Because my mom, we were out for dinner earlier and she was with us. And then we went to the casino by ourselves.
Correct. Okay. So we're out. I was like just sober enough to be like, make sure he showed up. He showed up. And then I was like, lights out, Ryan, take me home and get me an A&W burger. Like, this night's over.
One hundo.
And then I find out the next day. Well, we all went for brunch the next day and he shows up with Katie. But I found out they made up like teenagers, right? I'm allowed to say that.
Yeah.
It was PG. And then
That was it.
that was it.
From that point forward, we were inseparable.
And then I thought like maybe it was going to be fun. Like maybe it was just like a fun thing for them for the summer. And then we went on his boat and Katie was like, babe, can I get you a drink, babe? And like hands all over him. And Ryan and I like just were like, what? Because I've seen her with guys, but I've never seen her like in it. And I was like, oh, she's done. It was crazy. That boat trip is when I was like, for sure, you're going to marry him.
Yeah.
And
I knew right away. Like, when people say, like, when you know, I was like, that's fucking horseshit. Like, I thought I knew. I didn't know.
yeah. I've thought I've known a few times.
But, like, when it was, like, a week in after I went on that first date with him, I knew that I was going to spend the rest of my life with this man. There was no doubt in my mind.
He's going to be so happy listening to this podcast that
He doesn't
he's
listen
been
to
redeemed.
podcasts.
Oh, okay, good.
Don't even tell him about it.
No, he doesn't.
It's a need to know thing.
He's not a very social person. Like,
I posted
social
like
media
a
stuff.
really sappy post on Instagram, and it was like all pictures of us, and there was no special occasion. It wasn't a birthday, just like confessing my love for him. And a month later, he's like, "That's a really cute picture you posted of us." I'm like, "You just saw it?" He's like, "Yeah." Like, yeah, I posted that a month ago.
Oh, men can be so clueless sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But you've booked a venue. This is happening. This
Yeah.
isn't just an engagement. This is a thing. It's the wedding.
Yeah, so big changes. Big changes. When the last podcast we did was that with Lauren? Skinny Confidential? Or did we do one after that?
Oh, so long ago.
But were you with Kevin at that point?
Yeah, because we talked about Kevin at Tristan's birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes,
Okay.
we did.
So we've introed him
I
already.
didn't, but I heard it.
I don't think we
I
did
don't-
not say his name.
I don't think we've talked about him on the podcast.
It was about, they were still new, very new.
This is the Kevin intro.
All right, well, I'd like to say that I'm still not married, and I'm just having another baby. Just like babies. But the actual fact that when you're like planning a wedding, I'm like, wow, that's so impressive. I'm so proud of you. That's awesome. It just sounds like so.
Do you
much
not
work.
feel comfortable though, like with all of the changes in the work that's been done, that you'll be in a better place to have 4 children and run the business?
I feel like I'm at a place where I've completely like, I'm letting like the universe tell me my path in a way. And I'm not, and I think that I've kind of given up trying to control all of these certain things and taken an honest look at what's working and what's not working. And what's working, I'm going to dig into because I love what I do and I'm very passionate about this business. And there's certain parts of the business that have not gotten the attention from me that it should have because I was too busy. And I've always said I hate that word, but we were growing and taking on all of these new projects. And truthfully, for every give, there's a take. For every ebb, there's a flow. And you can't succeed at everything. Every entrepreneur will say they failed at 9 things or 90 things before they finally had success. But truthfully, we were doing too many things. And we had a lot of inefficiencies within the teams. And it was just something that for me, I had to address really honestly. And it was like taking a long, hard look in the mirror and saying, what's not working? What is working? And I kind of have continued to tell myself, it is what it is and it isn't what it isn't. And focusing on what is working and going in that direction. And I'll get to how that gets to like babies at some point, but I feel like I need to kind of address why a 6-week break from the podcast turned into a 6-month break, because our listeners have been asking, where have you been? And for me, in about July, August, I got to a point where I felt really, is misaligned the word? Like I felt I was not aligned with the direction of the business in so many ways. And you know, sometimes you just kind of keep paving along in the direction because of the last decision that you've made and you keep going. And then all of a sudden you realize that you're actually way over in left field when you're supposed to be in right. And it's just one thing kind of leads, it's just a very slow thing. Well, we've been doing this for 12 years and the team had grown so much, but there was certain things that were not addressed. And I was traveling too much. I was too busy. I shouldn't have had to be that busy with the team that I had. I was covering up for inefficiencies within the team, truthfully. And it hit a breaking point actually when we went to iSpa, Katie. It was the last, we'd done a few trade shows, we'd done a few podcast trips, and I'd been away for like 5 times in 4 months, which I know people travel, and I know working moms travel. For me, I don't think, I was so misaligned. I got a text from Ev in the morning of the last or the second last day of the trade show. And he was sharing something from the kids. And it hit me, like it hit home so hard. And I started, I instantly like welled up and was like, I need to go home. And it wasn't like something bad happened. Nothing bad happened. He was just, it was for some reason that text message spoke to me. And I was like, I am not where I'm supposed to be. I need to go. And luckily my sister was with me and I was like, I showed her the text and we talked about it and I'm like, I have to go. She's like, yeah, go. Like, it's fine. I have this.
I think that's one of like the things that you needed to learn how to do too, is like delegate. Like you were totally okay to leave. Like it was the last day. I packed it up. I shipped it out. Like it was a great time for you to go. I think it was very important that you were there for the 3 important days, but you don't need to do setup and takedown. Like,
yeah, I think I had been self-sacrificing for a long time. I'm a hard worker and I'm like really determined to the cause. I'm committed to the cause. And so our wholesale direction, I've been working really hard at it, but it was just a greater sign. Like the fact that that moment spoke to me so much, it made me just stop. I made the wheels stop turning. And I talked to Katie and I was like, we need to make some dramatic changes. Like this has to work for my life. I have to be able to, and that's a choice you make as a mother as well. And when you keep having kids, like things have to change if you want to show up. And I wasn't able to show up in ways, and I actually wrote down on a Post-it note, and I had to like remind myself. I said, if you are no longer able to be accountable to the people that you care about, you need to assess your priorities. And I had just been accountable to too many people and doing too many things. And it was like a form of burnout, I suppose. But it was just it was a light bulb moment for me where I needed to completely restructure.
I think there's something like, because I've watched, when I started here, there was so many people that worked here.
So many people.
And I remember saying to Katie, like, what is that person's job? Like, what does that person actually do? But what I've seen you do in this last, especially since the summer, when you would call and be like, oh, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Is that not even just like the values for your life or whatever, but rather than trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? Because you can look at, like, especially in this industry, you can look at this influencer and this person and blah, blah, blah. And what are they doing? But at the end of the road, it's business. And business is what makes the most financial sense. And what makes the most financial sense is to scale back, have more of an online presence, put your money in there, don't pay as big an overhead, have your flagship store. But I think that maybe what you've done that's ahead of the curve is, rather than open 25 stores and have to close 10, is scale back to where you can still make the same amount of money to work smarter.
Absolutely.
Rather than harder.
Well, and I was promoting that. I was constantly promoting work smart, not hard, but I was working hard, and I was truthfully not doing my job as a manager, because one of the big things that I noticed, and I think it's growing a company versus, like, let's say somebody just structures a company and hires out. They have their positions they need to fill. They hire based on those positions. I promoted from within. So I had people who ended up in positions that they weren't hired for, that they actually weren't qualified for. And so it was an honest, it's not their fault.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you really care about those people, but they weren't ever really suitable for that position. And it's a nice idea to promote from within, but it doesn't always work either. Like, sometimes it gets to a point where if you want to take it to the next level, you actually have to have more qualified people who are skilled in those areas or who have done it before. Because I was tired of training or investing in the mistakes.
There's a level of gratitude, like for Tristan, he had one team that was with him from when he was diagnosed at 2.5 until he was in grade 2, so however old you are. And we actually let that team go, and it was heartbreaking. And we hired a completely new team because that team got him to where he was, and we were so thankful, but they weren't going to take him to where he needed to be. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing. Like, we can be grateful for you can be so grateful for those people, but they just weren't the people that were going to take you to the next level.
Totally. And for us, there's been this tipping point, and I'm not the only company. There's a ton of companies who have retail presences and that are managing a shift to online, which has been happening dramatically.
Yes.
Like, every Christmas, the statistics of who's going to Amazon and whatever, it's just insane how fast technology is changing our world. And it leads to a lot of wonderful opportunities. But that shift, you have to address that at some point. Sometimes it's not slow. Sometimes you have to, like, quickly shift and address a bleed. Like, if you can make more with that money pushing it online, why wouldn't you? A, it's easier. B, it's going to be more profitable.
Yes.
But it's hard. And I always, like, toy with, like, economics. It's hard because I don't want people to lose jobs either. But it has to make financial sense for a company.
But if everyone starts supplying Amazon, like, wouldn't you be providing more jobs for the Amazon Canadian Vancouver
it's just
factory?
changing jobs, I guess.
Yeah.
And the world is changing really quickly. But I think the point I'm trying to summarize for our listeners is just that Katie and I have had a lot of hard conversations over the last 6 months. And it's been a time where I look at my job and being like, I had to have these hard conversations with people that I didn't want to have, but that is my job. You have to do it. And if I'm not doing it and I'm not managing people, then the company's just not going to get there.
I'd add in, though, coming into the business at the end of that process for you, seeing a business owner and leader who's willing to change and is open to new ideas, especially coming from a business where I spent a quarter of my life so far, watching them do the same broken things and watching the result of that be burnout or continuing bad behaviors, a decline in a business, is really frustrating for someone who cares. So for someone to come into a business at the end of what you've just finished doing with that willingness to try something new or see what sticks is really refreshing for me, because where I came from was really frustrating in the end, because none of the changes I thought would make the business better were enacted. So for me, it's actually been kind of a blessing and a pleasure, because where I came from was a struggle, because no one was willing to take a risk at something different.
That is great to hear. I feel like I haven't had a ton of positive feedback over the last few months. And Katie, you probably feel the same way. And it kind of lends to what Karen was mentioning before the podcast about cutting the corporate crap. Like getting rid of that predetermined idea that we have of what something looks like.
Yes.
The hustle. At the end of the day, for me, it was either like, this has to get easier or I'm not doing it because I'm not willing to sacrifice my family.
I feel like the more corporate, excuse me, that privilege was made, the less teamwork happened.
That's right.
Everyone became their own little island with their job, and things just weren't being done efficiently.
There's a lot of passing off responsibility as this isn't my occupation. This is for somebody else to handle.
Not my
and
category.
At the end of the day, you know, everyone can step up and blur those lines a bit and help each other, but maybe that wasn't happening so much.
It wasn't happening. And one of the things we constantly came across was the overcomplicating. Like trying to actually isolate when you're committed to the cause. And luckily I had somebody I could bounce this off of, which was you, Katie. I'm like, committed to the cause of simplifying it. What is it going to take? What are we going to do? Because I don't care what it is. I'm looking at this honestly. This whole teamwork isn't working. So how are we going to make it happier and better and more efficient and easier? Well, then you're trying to isolate the people that overcomplicate their position. Why does it have to be complicated? When you look around, I see it so clearly now. I can identify that personality, that it could be the result of like an ego, which mine has been stripped completely. And I don't believe anything positive comes out of holding an ego. Or it can come out of authority, like people who are delegating, and it's just unnecessary. It's like a humbling activity of like all of us just being honest and simple and make it easy.
Well, I think Katie was saying this too, is that I always say to my clients, like, if you want to wait 24 hours, then call me or send me a voice note or something. But if you want an answer from me right away, text me. Like, cut out 95% of the blurry jargon and just text me. Tell me what it is you need me to do or you need me to accomplish or what the problem is, and we can attack it in 25 minutes or 25 seconds, rather than this whole like hierarchy that it needs to go through this person, and then we need to use all these fancy words. It needs to be like, I sat down last night to write the biggest proposal of my life, the biggest job, the biggest anything. I was refining it last night to send it off. And I felt myself getting into that trap where I was using all these fancy words and fancy terms. And I was like, they're going to be really shocked when they got on a call with me 9 a.m. on a Monday and see my hair in a bun wearing an I Love Wine shirt. And I'm not this super fancy, because I'm not. I'm a hard worker and I will grind and I will get the job done for you. But I don't think that I need to portray an image to be that person.
Bingo.
Right?
That's exactly it. And I think it's just living honestly as well. Like, I think social media has done it to us because everything has a face to it.
Yeah.
So
and it's actually
like,
changing now. It's
oh,
more
look,
organic.
I'm working hard. I'm out. I'm traveling for work. Here's my picture of my passport.
You're going to see a big decline in that this year, and like a huge decline. Influencer marketing will go up. It's projected to go up by $12 billion. So, I mean, influencer marketing is going to go up, but the type of influencers that people are working with, there's going to be a lot of people that are making a lot of money right now that won't be in the next 5 years.
Right.
Authenticity is going to win. Storytelling is going to win over pretty filtered photos and fake captions.
That's right. I think for me, it started from a personal feeling of just living inauthentically. And I was like, I cannot relate or have a conversation with anything that doesn't align with myself right now. And I was feeling so much wasn't aligning with myself. And so for me, social media, when I go on I think a lot of people struggle with this.
Yeah,
is
they
what
do.
I'm trying to say. And when you go on social media, I would just get off.
That's why Instagram took away likes. Like the number one reason and I think a lot of people say bad things about Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, but I think when someone looked and saw there was a mental health issue coming, or there is a mental health issue because of something he created, they started taking steps to change it, which is why they took away the likes, so that you don't look at somebody else and compare yourself to them. I'm sure people still, they still do, but that was their goal with taking it away. And people were mad. I'm in a lot of social media groups and people were super mad. But I felt like it shouldn't have been about that in the first place. For business purposes, it should have been about conversions.
Absolutely.
And it shouldn't be about, I would rather have 10 conversions off of a post with 100 likes than 100,000 likes and 0 conversions.
I completely agree. So how do we simplify it?
How do we simplify social media?
How do we simplify
Life?
Work?
I think you need to stop. Everyone needs to stop comparing themselves to other people. 100%. I think a couple years ago, called myself a recovering perfectionist and a recovering hustler. We talked about that on my podcast, but I just I don't have that. I have a son with special needs. I have a really busy life. Not busy. I hate that word. I have a full business and a full life with friends and husbands. I do not have time. Husbands. I have 2 of them. Decided to go surprise. But I have had a glass and a half of wine, so I don't know what I'm going to say anymore.
Katie, I feel, oh my God, my thought just went out the window too. Okay, I was going to talk about, people comparing themselves to others.
Yeah.
I think that's a big problem with staff as well, like with employees. People get obsessed with their title. So they're like, no, I'm sorry. No, I don't. We would see a lot of this. Like, I don't actually do that. I am head of marketing, or I am head of this, or I am. Well, what happened to just being a team and doing what needs to be done right now?
Because these are your tasks, because
you shouldn't have to hire out because that's outside of your little 4x4 box right there.
But it's not even, sorry, Zydeco, it's not even necessarily that someone doesn't want to do it. Maybe they're too busy.
Yeah.
And if they're asking for help, and just because it's not your category, you should still, what do you need right now?
What I got hired at Privilege to do and what I do now is not at all the same thing. But I feel like that's just my...
Not at all. Exactly.
I was like, I'm not sure. Whatever. But I'm like that with a lot of my clients. Like, it starts with social media and then it kind of branches on and on. But I think that in a working environment, look at Zydeco. Zydeco, I don't actually know your title here, but you do 75 things.
I don't know my title either.
Perfect.
But
Zydeco is Director of Awesomeness.
There you go. I feel like, though, sometimes people get really wrapped up in their reputation, and they feel like asking for help or, having a struggle with something is going to devalue their presence in the brand or what they're accomplishing. And so for the purposes of almost self-preservation, they refuse to put their hands into a situation that is sticky because they don't want to be associated with having that mess around them. And so instead of being willing to, take that hit for the betterment of the organization and yourself in the end, because you're going to learn from it, they just siphon it off as someone else's problem or something they weren't aware of, even if that's not the reality. Yeah.
In addition to that fact, kind of make that, accentuate that point, I feel like people get a hero complex.
Right.
And they want to, they get so... it's almost the flip side of that, but it can be just as detrimental to an organization, somebody who needs to be the head of everything.
Yes.
I've had that hurt my business in many ways.
Yeah.
Again, which comes down to an ego problem.
Yeah.
But a hero complex, somebody who always has to have their name at the top. They always have to be the face of it or in front of the problem. And you have an inability to properly delegate. Again, they probably hide the problems and they're not airing them out. I feel like that is the hardest one to get to the bottom of.
That would be a self-esteem issue, I think,
I'd
right?
have to say, though, coming from having managed quite a few people at my previous position, a lot of the enjoyment and reward I got out of my job was promoting other people's success to help make them more successful as well. And kind of being the success hog, if you will, is not a cool occupation to have.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I would rather work way behind this. We actually, Ryan and I were joking yesterday that we were part of this network marketing business for a long time, and they were calling all these people up to get money, and this guy walked on stage for getting like $3 million, and everyone was like, who's that guy? And I was like, that's kind of how I want to live my life.
Yeah. Like, if you're doing a good job and, you know, it's going to show itself without you having to promote that. So I almost feel like self-promoting your successes is hiding something in itself.
I agree.
What aren't you telling me?
Mm-hmm.
So
I know. I know. And these are all things I feel like we've
Authenticity.
seen all of these personalities come across, and truly they are all vulnerabilities, right? So we're all just on a journey of growth no matter what. So it's like trying to be mindful and sensitive to people's shortcomings in that way, but also not allowing them in an organization, because it really it will hinder the growth of a team dramatically.
You can love people and love them to death. It just doesn't mean they're right for you.
right.
And that's okay. They're not your family. They're, you know, you can love them still and give them great. I've seen you give everyone amazing references and try to find people jobs even because you loved them so much and you knew they were amazing employees.
But not for me.
They just weren't perfect for the role. Exactly.
That's actually hard to come by. Like, sorry, not hard to come by on my part. It's hard for, try giving a good reference for somebody that you have let go to somebody that you know you're truly promoting them for a position, but it's a different position. They're like, but seriously, like, why did you let them go if you, well, truly, they weren't succeeding at that job, but they should do this job. And I'm being totally honest about it. I don't think it's conventional, a conventional personality trait.
No. Most people are like, you're fired by.
Yeah, like never talk to you again or whatever.
Yeah.
I think you're really emotionally invested in your business, almost sometimes to a fault.
Totally. And I always like vouch. I'm like, don't be too emotional about your business. But at the end of the day, when I had an honest conversation with myself in August, I'm like, I'm being way too emotional about my business.
Yeah.
Like, let's get unemotional and let's get shit done finally. And let's make some real change instead of just keep talking about it. Let's just do it.
Yes.
And we did. And we're coming to the end of it now.
Totally.
Yes.
And then on top of it, then I find out I'm pregnant near the end of it. But what I have said this whole time in like close conversations that I've had with Miriam about the whole journey and talking to her about it, I said, I feel like I'm just getting to a point where I'm just growing as a person and kind of letting the universe like guide my direction in a way. And I want to be where I'm supposed to be. And I don't feel like I was where I was supposed to be. And so for me, I think family's a big part of that I was not ignoring, because I think I've always been a good mom and I've always been there. But I think I was hurting myself to be all of those things for everybody, and that I could have found balance in a better way. If that makes any sense.
It makes total sense.
Well, first of all, you've been a great mom. Even
Yeah.
if you
Thank you.
feel that was what was hard for me when we were at iSpa, when you got that text message from Ev and that conversation, is because I see you be a great mom, and then I also get to see you at work be an awesome boss.
I'm
So
gonna cry, thank you.
I understand that you needed to go and that your family was lacking at that point, but I also see you like busting your ass 24/7 to make this business a success. So it's hard for me to understand his side sometimes, where I think like you just needed to find your balance, and you were out of balance at that point, but
Yeah.
I don't think you were doing anything wrong.
No, I don't think I was doing anything wrong. I think I had to grow in certain ways. And like all those hard conversations we had, I think I just had to learn how to have those. I think it's part of my journey. And then part of the podcast for me as well, even since taking the break, I've had like listeners reach out to me personally and ask for mentorship. And there's like a couple companies I've been like spending some time talking with them, the owners. And one of the things I don't think we addressed enough on the podcast was what it really feels like to be a working mom, or to be maybe how lonely it feels to be an entrepreneur, or the real struggles behind it. And those were personal conversations I was able to have, and these relationships I've built with these people, which are now friendships, are like, oh wow, this is so great to hear. I'm like not in this. I'm not the only one, or I'm not this. And they weren't getting that from the podcast. And I was like, you know what? When we start the podcast and we do this, it's going to reflect how like what people really need to hear. And address. I want to hear from people. I want to hear those problems that they're having and struggles that they're having in business, maybe finding balance. Because I think a lot of our listeners have started businesses or are small business owners, and they they need that support and they don't necessarily have it.
No, I'm always in communication with my kids about like why I'm busy or why I'm working. I try to work when they're not home. But I think that for them, I mean, everyone has their own love languages, but for them, I'm like, look, you want to go to Disneyland and Mexico twice this year? Like, mama's got to work.
Totally.
That's why I'm working, so that when we go on vacation for 10 days, I don't have to do anything except for look at you. And I can take you to your cheer practices, and I can be here for those things. That's why mom works so hard.
One of the things that comes up on our next podcast, actually, that I really loved the takeaway was about how we form our kids' perceptions on work. So our attitude about it, whether we're ambitious or excited about work or feeling positive about it, is how they are going to feel about us working or themselves and their careers in their lifetime. But if I'm leaving the house feeling guilty and shaming myself or feeling negative about it, then they will shame me and they will feel negative about work in their life as well.
Yeah.
So it's like forming that in a positive way. And so I think for me, my journey is just about getting right with myself, period.
Yeah.
So that I can be that person at home.
And I think redefining or reshaping what it looks like to be a working mom, because most of us don't have offices anymore, or we're veering away. Like, could I go rent a beautiful office? And yes, I could. But why, when everyone can work at home?
100%.
Why would I want you to come work in an office with me when you are better when you're at home and you work for 4 hours when your kid's napping? Like, so if I'm on a Skype call with any of my, like when I set up a client, when I onboard a new client, they know that I have kids. My home office is at home and my kids are at school. But if you call me at 5 o'clock, there's a good chance there's going to be kids in the background. Totally. I'm not going to go pretend to be something else and run into another room and close the door and have my daughter pounding on the door, because that's not fun for me. It's not fun for her.
Right.
So I feel like if we can together as working moms or even working dads reshape that vision of this whole corporate-y, hoity-toity business suit and working, and maybe that's your business and you have to do that. But I think for anyone that owns a smaller size business that does under $5 million a year, I don't know why it's not okay to have this home office.
No, it is
especially
okay.
for working moms.
I think it's just our perception.
Yeah.
Well, that was good. I think we should wrap this up and tell people where they can find us.
Yeah, and what they can look for on the next season.
There's going to be boys. There's going to be men on the next season.
We have a man on the...
Yeah. Look at us.
I'm so excited about our next podcast. Our next podcast, we have Kat and Nat.
They're hilarious.
They're so funny. And we have a huge lineup. I'm like, we have to get back to it. I have so many people lined up.
Famous Hollywood person's wife coming on.
Oh yeah, we've got a full 2 seasons lineup right now of people that we have to get organized with. But
we didn't do our current obsessions.
Did we not?
No.
Shit. Okay, Karen, what are you currently obsessed with?
Well, speaking of it, I'm currently obsessed with Schitt's Creek. Have you seen? You need to watch this TV show.
Okay,
it's on Netflix.
It looks awful.
Okay, that's what I thought forever, and then I just was like, I can't watch another. Like, I binge watched Scandal a little bit, and I needed a break, so I clicked on it, and it is so good. Dan Levy and Eugene Levy made the show, and Eugene Levy's son Dan is I have a big crush on him. Unfortunately, he doesn't bat for my team, but and I'm married. Oh, but his character is like so. It's like this narcissistic family that is super rich and like is forced to go live in a motel. You need to watch it.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because I never would have watched it. I promise you that.
You will, just watch it.
Okay, can I tell you guys what I'm currently obsessed with?
What?
The thought of Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, moving to Fort Langley.
Yep.
I heard this rumor.
They're living on the island. They already have a home.
They don't have it for sure. Really?
Yes, they're there. There's a gate. There's people set up outside.
They're going to have more than one home.
Yeah, they're going to have one.
I heard that Fort Langley was the short list. I heard they're also looking at West Van. She's met with 2 East Van charities this past week that she wants to work with.
She can't move to West Van. She needs to move to Fort Langley.
I think Fort Langley. Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm. I could. I feel like, and what would you do if you saw her? I feel like I'd be like, hi. Like, I don't think I'd be
I would
fangirl.
invite her to my book club for
Yeah.
sure. I've already ran it past the book club. They're totally cool with her.
Or we
coming
invite
in.
her on the podcast because she can do that
For
now.
sure. Yes.
She can do whatever the F she wants.
Yes.
God, I love her.
I love her, and I've been obsessed with this whole current event of like I'm like reading about it on Twitter. Prince Harry landed on a WestJet flight. Like how?
I know, and they took him out the back door. How do I know that? Because I have problems. I know.
Yeah, I know.
Like he flew WestJet with other
Commercial.
Blue WestJet
Yeah.
commercial.
And then they just, because and the reason he went out the back door wasn't for security. It was because he doesn't want to annoy the other passengers with press taking photos. So he just like sneaks out the back door and gets into a car.
The whole thing is a whole press problem. I think it's about that whole Royal
Well,
Rota system.
And don't you feel like as kid, like I love that they came to Canada because we're the nicest people. But don't you think that after a while,
I feel like we deserve this.
Canadians will kind of be like, oh, like if I saw Ryan Reynolds, like we have celebrities in Vancouver all the time.
Like we would be cool about it. We'd be like,
I
we
think-
wouldn't even bother them. We would probably just like let them pass.
I might buy them like their martinis at dinner without telling them and sneak out the door
Yeah.
and invite her on the podcast.
Yeah.
I just think it's so cool. Like I know like if you go read their Instagram and read what the British people are saying, it's
awful.
horrible. And I think here's a woman that says like, no, fuck you. I'm not playing your game. I'm going to go live my life and do all the good things I want to do in the world. She was a philanthropist since she was 12. She didn't like marry and all of a sudden become like this philanthropist. And then a husband that says, you're right, we need this to change.
Yeah, we all know Harry lived on the edge a little bit, right?
Yes, the naked photos.
I
in
feel like
Vegas,
they're
right?
finishing Diana's work.
I know.
Like I have goosebumps even saying it, but I feel like it's just so important, this whole story. And like they're going to probably be the most influential royals, even if they're not royals anymore.
I mean, we should be friends with them.
Oh, they absolutely should be friends with us. I've been thinking about how this is going to happen.
Okay.
We're
Without
manifesting
stalking
it.
them, let's make them friends with us.
Yeah.
Okay, before we go, we need to talk about Brad and Jen, and then you can do whatever you want with this podcast.
Katie, just say you're obsessed with Brad and Jen, and then we can talk about
Yeah,
it.
I'm obsessed with Brad and Jen. I mean, it was super cute when you saw the video of him watching her get her award.
He was so happy for her. She was just like can you
don't
believe it?
Don't tell me they're not emotionally tied together with the looks on their faces.
Also, like, can you imagine being Angelina, seeing that photo everywhere the next day? Like, wow.
The photo of him holding her hand while she's walking away. I died. I died.
I
I'm
didn't
dead.
even take it as him holding her hand, though. I took it as him, like, grabbing her and
Yes.
pulling her back aggressively.
Me
and I was
too.
like, yes.
I know. It was like she deserved that. That was her moment of, like, revenge is such a negative word, but it was her moment where he, like, pulled her back and was like, no, like, share this with me for a second.
They should make a Mr. and Mrs. Smith too with Jen Aniston.
Oh, my God. It's been a great week. All in all, with the whole Meghan and Harry rumor and
I'm
Brad and
embarrassed to admit how much time I spent online getting photos. I'm embarrassed to admit it was 3 hours. But I did. Every photo, every article, I read it.
Jen. Okay, Zydeco, what are you currently obsessed with?
Well, it's not as big as royals or famous people. It's more close to home, like just down the street from me.
Oh.
If anyone knows me, they know I am obsessed always with one thing. Karen, you want to take a stab at it? What do I love more than anything?
Oh, golden retrievers.
Exactly. So I have a friend who.
I was going to say your fiance.
Well, that was so 2000 and
That was a
whenever we
close. It's a
met.
close
Oh,
second.
that was a 2019
Yeah,
thing.
now it's just like, okay, so my friend has adopted a golden retriever from Thailand and is flying it over, and it arrives this week on Friday.
Oh,
So if
that's
I was
exciting.
currently obsessed with anything happening in my little world this week, it would be that on Friday I get to meet this.
Is this like are you like the dog uncle
I
or the
have
dog
been called
godfather?
the dog uncle. I also
Okay.
have been maybe thinking of how I can just get this dog.
Yeah.
And maybe she can get another
You could
It's
one.
dog nap it.
I might though.
This
that's the
dog was
thing.
saved from one of the festivals where they eat the dogs.
Exactly.
Zydeco, are you more excited about the golden retriever than my pregnancy news?
Do I have to say that on the podcast?
I feel like
Yeah.
your face is telling me the answer right now.
Zydeco, what do you always say to Axel when he asks you for kids?
that I get my golden retrievers first, and then we talk about the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry.
It's okay.
You still want me
You
to
love
work here
what
with
you
you? Okay.
I'd rather have 10 children than one dog.
Wow.
I'm on Katie's team, and it's not that I don't like dogs or think they're adorable or whatever. I just have no time for them.
That's why we're sitting on opposite sides of the table.
I
Yeah.
just don't get it when someone's like, oh my God, God, look at the dog. It's so cute. I'm like, yeah, I don't see it.
She said this in the last video. I had to edit it out because I'm like, there's dog lovers everywhere that are going to
I have nothing against dog lovers. It just doesn't pull at my heartstrings.
I know. I get it.
It's different.
It's a real point of view. It's a very like 2020 thing for people to like have kid dogs. You know what I mean? Their dogs like are literally on human level. Like they're rescue or they're not rescue. They're like, what's when they have that pass to like go on an airplane?
Like ESA dogs, emotional support animals.
Emotional support
dogs. Yes.
I would like an emotional support child.
I'd like an emotional support person. Just follow me around.
I think that's me.
Okay. And on that note, we should say goodbye until next week.
Goodbye.
All right. Okay, bye guys.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you love PRIV Talks podcast, please rate and review. Then DM us a screenshot of your review with your address to @PRIV Talks podcast so we can send you a free gift. Also, we want to keep the conversation going, so please join us on Instagram and get into our private Facebook group where we can chat and stay connected. Thank you so much. See you next time.